So this is us third on the grid. It was split 2 in the Formula 3 race at Monza, and being split 2 I had a bit of a chance to maybe do something good. I wasn't going to be able to compete with the superstars in split 1. Pole sitter back on the grid now and heading off from P3. Didn't get a magnificent start, probably a little bit too many revs and a bit of wheel spin, so I start to get swamped, particularly by this car just there on my right, but maybe a little bit optimistically decided to hold position around the outside into the first turn and try and do a little bit of a Max Verstappen. Now I'm hit by that car. I was slightly unsighted by him, I would imagine, but I was the second car that that gentleman came into contact with at the start. So now I'll just switch to the external view to just show where we end up. So we are now 19th out of 19 on lap 1, but we've got 15 laps to get something done. So let's not be too defeatist, and let's see what we can do. Ends up being a fun opening lap. Being split 2 of 2, I think the guys at the back didn't quite have the pace of the people at the front. So I've got to get some work done here quite quickly. Lesmo 1 get a bit of a decent run on this chap here. Outbrake him into Lesmo 2. Somebody else falls off the track, so there's 2 easy passes, bringing me up to P17. But I think there's a bit more to come on this opening lap. The rest of the race becomes an interesting one of me on sort of relatively medium wing and another chappie on very low wing, and that's the interesting story of this race. So through the Ascari chicane for the first time, I think I get a better exit than this gentleman here and manage to get a bit of a draft and pull past into the Parabolica. So that's one more done. Now P16 on the gearbox of this car. Someone's pulled into the pits, don't know why, maybe a drive-through, maybe a problem. And we are just about to grab 14th, I think, with that guy going into pit lane. It's going to be a battle into the first turn. See who blinks first. I was pretty confident of my braking point and was able to get through. So that is now P14 of 19. So that's 5 places made up in just over 1 lap. I'll bring you back in where there's a bit more action. The second Lesmo, approaching second Lesmo, still lap 2. We're about to have a huge amount of action, and I think that's 3 passes there. People falling off the track, and I'm now in P11, and I'm chasing Germano Civini and Olivier Schwartz, and Germano Civini has just flown by Schwartz, and the Civini car has incredible top speed. So I'm going to be chasing Schwartz, who's chasing Civini, for a couple more laps. Now with these races, you want to be in the top half of the results. There's 19 on the grid, and the car in the front of this train of 3 is in 9th place, and that's what I'm eyeing off. Now someone's had a bit of a drama here on the left, and that's given us a free place as well. We'll have a quick look at what happens. I'm now in P10. So this is Klaus Turbo ahead of us in that moment in P8. If that is a real name, that is one hell of a name, and I think he's just had a bit of a moment of lapse of concentration and he's collected the leading edge of that curve, and we will come flying through here. I'm the third of those 3, and Klaus has done some suspension damage, but that's a free pass for all 3 of us. End of that same lap through Parabolica into lap 3, and you can just see how quick this gentleman in the front, Civini's car, is set up, because even in the slipstream, Oliver Schwartz can't make a dent on him. So he's in a very low wing configuration. I think I saw him at 256 or 257 in clear air. So Schwartz can't catch him, and I can't catch him at the moment. So we've just got to keep piling on the pressure. At this stage I hadn't quite figured that out. I was thinking, well, come on, let me at him, why don't you pass him? But in fact Civini in the first of these 3 cars This car is just so damn fast on the straight that we can't get a crack at him yet. End of lap forward, I'm trying to pile some pressure onto at least Schwartzman in front of me. Getting nice and tight on the inside of Parabolica so I can get the power on nice and early on the exit. And I've got a bit of a run here on Schwartzman, but not quite enough to get anything done. Civini pulling ahead with his incredible top speed. I've got the run on Schwartzman, but only by virtue of being in his slipstream. So once I pull out into the fresh air, I haven't got anything he hasn't got. Now being off the rubbered line, I've got to brake a bit more conservatively. Got to brake a bit earlier if you're not on the rubbered line, or you are going to collide with that guy who has every right to turn in, and not very sporting if you don't take that into account. More on that later. Still lap 5, and I'm trying to pour on as much pressure as I can on both these cars, or certainly Schwartzman in front of me here through the Lesmos, because I've discovered I'm decisively faster through the Lesmos, and whether that's Schwartzman being blocked, and I think it probably is, by the low wing car of Civini, who is decidedly slower through the Lesmos and through Parabolic and through Ascari for that matter. Again, I get a chance to pile pressure onto Schwartzman, but can't do anything decisive enough to get a clean pass. And you'll see us both close up here on Civini through the Ascari. So it becomes apparent he's just got a rocket ship in a straight line, but a car that's a bit of a pig through the corners. But it's working here at Monza as we're battling each other, and he's just gradually clearing off every time the speeds build up. But you'll see us close up on him here. Slight touch there between Schwartzman and myself as I endeavour to go around the outside. Doesn't work out very well. This was a back marker having a problem at the exit of the first Variante. Not someone who was in front of us, so it didn't gift us any position. So still P10, lap 6, and still trying to pile pressure onto Schwartzman in front. He's got a nice tow from Civini, so I've got to make sure I don't drop off the back of this train. But in truth, it's not very hard staying on the back of it, because we've just got much better performance through the twisty bits. So I continue to try to pile pressure on Schwartzman. He's trying to pile pressure on Civini in 8th. Second Lesmo, and it looked to me there like Civini balked Schwartzman a little bit there and caused a problem for him. We'll re-look at that. I'll leave the telemetry open, and yeah, Civini very, very slow in the apex, causing a bit of a problem for Schwartz. Sorry, not Schwartzman, Schwartz. Quick little look in slow-mo. I went back to lap 5, and Civini's minimum apex speed at this corner was 127 kph, and he just makes a big mess of it here. Locks up the fronts, slides wide, and minimum apex speed is 115 kph, and that totally catches Schwartz out and causes his problem. Ascari, same lap, lap 6, and this allows me to start to pile some pressure onto Civini, and I'm finding that my car is definitely quicker through the Ascari, and I exit here with great overspeed and think I'm going to pull ahead, but discover Civini's secret. Mega low wing setup. He can put his car in the way in the corners. I'm through for the second time in that same sector. Through again, and Civini's top speed just allows him to drive away from me. Let's just have a look at what he's doing here. He's doing 253 in clear air. I'm doing 250 in his slipstream. So Civini has a very quick car, but not very good behaviour of that car in corner entry. Turn 1, lap 7, and we can see here, this is the downside of a low wing setup. You've got to brake a bit earlier. If you don't, you're putting your tyres under a huge amount of stress. And Civini definitely pushing it right to the limit. Now, this is the story of the next 8 laps. Me monstering the car ahead through the corners. Second Variante here, not so decisive, got a reasonably good exit. Putting a fair bit of pressure on through the Lesmos, able to really sort of intimidate get all over him, not wanting to bump into him and have problems like Schwartz did. But just signalling here that I'm right there and hoping this might make a difference. We'll just follow this sequence through to the end of the Ascari. And then we're going to fast forward ahead a few laps because every lap was the same for about 6 or 8 laps. I'm just able to get the power down much earlier, get a run on him, but even when I pass him, he repasses me due to his low wing setup. Fast forward through to lap 13, and the Civini car is suffering a little bit more on its tyres now. It is just getting easier and easier to monster him through the Lesmos and through Ascari. And it's giving me a little bit of hope that the car will become just a bit more of a handful. My car's still feeling beautiful, and this is the downside of a low wing setup, is that your tyres struggle a whole lot more, and when your tyres start to go away, there's not a lot of aero there to back you up, so it becomes a diminishing cycle of performance in cornering, and quite a dramatic drop-off in cornering performance, because you're relying so much on tyres for grip, and they're suffering as a result. So here we have nearly a bit of a look up the inside through Parabolica, end of lap 13, beginning of lap 14, and he's able to yet draw away once again. So I really need a decisive opportunity to make this work. About 2 more laps to go. So later that same lap, lap 14, I'm taking a lot of care through the Lesmos. You're seeing smoke coming off those tyres, and that car is really becoming a handful in the corners now. I haven't yet been able to capitalise. I'm being very cautious so as to not hit his gearbox. We'll have a little look through Ascari in a second. Just trying to not make any mistakes. Get a great exit speed off Ascari and at least create some pressure as we head up to Parabolica for the second last time. He's forced to make some defensive shapes, and at the entry of Parabolica, bit of tyre smoke, he's drifted wide, and we do have minor contact there. And I think I might have enough space to hold him off. Let's look at the contact. So he just loses it a bit, and front wheels collide with my rear wheels. So I would say no blame on myself for that contact. But let's have a look at the response. Off the racing line, late braking, fully locked up into the side of my car, and that's where I think it probably gets a slightly less than sporting. We'll go on board with Civino, and yeah, I'm defending pretty hard now. I've had a car run into my side, which I thought was over the line a little bit in terms of ambition. Now we're off the racing line, no wing, and straight into me again. Now, were it not for that contact, that car was not going to make that apex. Yeah, I'm blocking. I'm using as much of the road as I could and giving a very suboptimal entry into the second variante here, because I really did feel after such a long and clean battle that the contact at turn 1 was just a little bit out of order. And you can be the judge here as to whether or not this was a clean move by Civini, and whether or not he had any chance of making that corner, making that apex, or whether he was solely relying on contact with me. But as fate would have it, my opponent regains the road before I do and heads off into the distance, so I'm back into P10. And my dreams of coming in the top half of this 19 car grid looking a little bit shaky. but I was through in ninth after that unfortunate incident at the entry and exit of the Ascara chicane by my opponent, and managed to cross the line in P9, so that was 10 places gained, some easy, some hard, from the opening lap. Hope that was fun. For me, it was an interesting story of how the cars behave with low aero versus a little bit more aero, and where to find opportunities. Also a little bit of an illustration of what a good clean fight is versus a fight that's perhaps not so clean. Thanks for watching.